Good evening, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for all the comments. I have a whole set of them I have to kind of go through, but I appreciate those a lot. And I know some of you guys like my screaming. Some guys don't like my screaming. Guys, I kind of do it to kind of show a point a little bit too. I think you have to have enthusiasm and passion. And I think it's important to recognize that when you're on this purpose, it's hard to control it. I have to admit, it's hard to control sometimes. So I will try to tone it down as much as I can. But the energy that you have with semen retention is unbelievable. You guys who know this, you understand this. You understand that it is hard to control sometimes. So I will try to get the message out as much as I can, as best as possible. But I also like the enthusiasm and like the passion that warriors need to have. All right, but I appreciate the comments. You guys are making some great comments, and I appreciate everything you guys are saying and all the topics that we make this a worthwhile channel for you guys to listen to. And if I can do things to make it better, I'm happy to do so. Like I said, I haven't really had a chance to kind of go off on my own a little bit and kind of do live streaming and things like that too. So I will try to do that as we go on. A couple shout outs here before we start. Hoaxbuster, Hadler, 1,000 days. Congratulations, thank you, my friend, for that. Brian Alonso likes the battle cry, so thank you, Alonso, Brian. I appreciate that. Jerry Herrera, open source. Thank you guys so much. Let's see, Kasper, Beam. I think it's Beam. I can't remember. I'm sorry about the name. So Giovanni, thank you, my friend. David B, Leo. Getting rich in semen retention. We're going to do one on that pretty soon again. Lion, thank you. Thomas Van der Sman, thank you. Forever Blessed. Joked at being needled. Yeah, you're right, my friend, because a lot of times what happens, we talked about the fact that you're going to get joked at, you're going to get needled because you have that sort of passion, enthusiasm, energy that you can't find. A lot of people, men especially, don't have this energy. And where this comes from is God given your semen, your nutrients that you got to keep as long as you can, except for procreation. And I think it's important to recognize that. Thomas Van D Slam again, thank you. So I love that. He's talking about Jezebel a little bit. We'll talk about that one day as well. Jon the Dawn likes the battle cry. Thank you. Czech Republic likes the battle cry. Thank you, my friend. And Lion. And we'll kind of stop here. So at about three minutes here, we're going to talk about a variety of topics for this one. But I guess what I can call this, we'll put it all together here, is how to overcome a release. So if you've released, which I used to do many, many times, and how do you overcome that? So let's kind of talk about that a little bit here. So obviously, when you are in a situation where you've gone on a streak or you're kind of trying to get into your journey and all this, you could fall back. That happens all the time. And many of you guys have talked about certain things that kind of fit into that. So let's kind of focus on a little bit. Sheniskid was the one who kind of put this together, talking about the fact that, you know, you can be depressed. Those things can happen. You can release because you're depressed. You can release because you're lonely. Those things can happen. You got a loss of self-control because you're trying to kind of fit that space that's empty. You're feeling lonely. You know, you feel like there's no one there. What's your purpose? And to kind of overcome that, you may decide, well, I have to release. That is very possible. Those things happen. But you always have to remember, the consequences of this put you a further step back. And that's important. So a few have also talked about smoking weed, marijuana, you know, with it. Well, once again, I'm not judging anybody on anything, warriors, about what you do. But remember, all these things have consequences. And especially as you're doing things that become addictive or can become addictive, types of things, they can add and up. It's not so much the smoking and the marijuana, but what else are you doing with that? A lot of people who do sorts of drugs, they also drink. And they also have sex, and then they also release. So these type of things happen together. So this is what you have to kind of watch out for as you do this. We talk about food and SR. Vladimir has talked about that a little bit, and we'll have a whole different one on food. But food makes a big difference. You got to be careful that you're eating the right foods so you don't get, some foods will, have too much carbohydrates, and now you're feeling fat, you're feeling bloated, and you feel like you're having too much. And so this, again, leads you down the wrong path and not thinking clearly, and it's very easy to release as well. You can actually get muscle spasms. I think Christian Thomas talked about this and asked about this in one of his. It's very easy to go ahead and if you're not having the right foods and you're not sleeping well, and all of a sudden it's very easy if you don't have sodium and you don't have those type of things in your body to go ahead and have muscle spasms. And so it's important to recognize all these things can be hurtful when it comes to your journey. Also, as looking like a pink rabbit, one of our viewers mentioned, you don't want to get overconfident or cocky. This happens a lot too. This is what happened to me many, many times. You think you've kind of handled this situation, you've beaten the evil one, and now you don't have to worry about it anymore. Well, this is the time, as most armies will attend to over the years, is when they are vulnerable, when they've won. And they fought the battle, and now they're trying to get the victorious victor afterwards. They can succumb to attacks at that point. And so you have to be careful at that type of stuff. There was one other concept that I wanted to bring into this as well, and that was suicide. Again, as we're talking about this idea of retention, and we're talking about this idea of keeping your energy and keeping your enthusiasm, you have to have a zest for life, my friends. A zest. And what I mean by that, and that's a passion. If you don't have a passion, then you're going to be able, you could succumb very easily to the other things. Because then you think to yourself, what is my purpose? What am I here for? What am I doing here? And if you don't have the relationship with God, if you don't have that inner drive and passion to be the best you can be, you can succumb to a lot of these things. A lot of people who commit suicide are not necessarily poor. A lot of them are rich, but they don't have that zest. Doesn't mean, I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how many cars you have. I don't care how houses you have. What I'm talking about, warriors, is within yourself. This is why, there is a lot of passion, And I'd rather have people who are yelling and screaming here and getting people who have that passion than be like a zombie. And the zombies, my friends, are an indication that you're missing something. And maybe you're drained. And this is why we talk about this, is that we have to make sure that we watch out for our brothers and sisters. A lot of women struggle with the porn and things like that as well. But the men especially become weak. The men become like simps. They're less of a man because they've lost half their energy. They do it constantly. And a lot of times they're doing it on their own. Because the whole idea is that your energy is what makes you strong. Your energy keeps you enthusiastic. I don't care what hour of the night you're talking about. And to throw your energy out makes no sense, right? To throw that energy out makes no sense at all. And so I don't care what time of day and morning it is or night it is, you have an inherent level of energy. And that energy needs to be preserved no matter what you're doing. Now, many of us don't think of it that way. Many of us don't think in terms of energy. We think in terms of, well, this is what society tells us to do. This is the way society should be, right? But I'm telling you, after 61 years of living, you need to make your own rules. You need to do what you think is right. Now, God is behind you, and if you're following God's laws, you know what's right and wrong. You know the 10 Commandments. You know those things you should be doing and not doing. But you have to make personal decisions. We've had personal decisions over the last few years, and I made one, right? And it turns out I may be correct in the ones I made as time goes on. But you make decisions based on your health, by your praying to God. You make your decisions, right? And all these things we talk about then are important to recognize. I mean, I had struggles when I was young, really young. When we talk about suicide, right? I've had those thoughts before when I was younger. And a lot of that goes back to the fact that you're not 100%. The fact that you're losing nutrients. And you're thinking, oh, well, I'm releasing stress by doing this. Well, I figured out the wrong way, the opposite. That wasn't the case for me. I was actually adding to my problems. It didn't seem like it at the beginning. It's like, oh, I thought I felt better. But in fact, I was getting more jittery. I was getting more nervous. A lot of that's because I was releasing on a constant basis. And that's not what you should be doing. So as we talk about this, the idea is, all these ideas together, we're talking about the fact that how to overcome when you release. Well, the bottom line, my friends, is to go back and recognize that as you're releasing, this is a lifestyle change. I'll make this tape a little bit longer here, but this is a lifestyle change. You're, as a warrior, thinking my life is going to change, right? I am no longer going to follow what I'm seeing in society. I'm not living in this world. Yes, of course, you're walking around in the world. We know that. But the idea is you're not living in this world. You're living in the spiritual world. And that means, you know, whatever you're seeing out there, you're not taking it full beta. You're listening to inside of you. You're listening to God. You're listening to what you feel is really real. And that is a whole different way to look at society. So, overcome release. Get yourself, again, back into the mode of thinking about this as a lifestyle change. Then, say, okay, what led to me to releasing? And you're going to find it's probably some issue that we're talking about here. Whether you're depressed, lonely, the wrong types of foods, right? Not working out, maybe having some physical issues. All these things can help. Even thoughts of suicide, if you're in that boat. These things need to be addressed. And the way you address them is, first, don't release. Keep all your nutrients together. Then, warrior, start thinking, how can I overcome this? Well, one of the ways to overcome this is fill your mind with a purpose. Pray to your God. Think with your God, what is the purpose of what I'm doing here? What is my purpose here? And then from that point on, you're going to go ahead and say, okay, let's go ahead and let's start thinking in terms of our purpose, where we want to go in our life, physically, mentally, spiritually. And then start doing it. Take one step at a time. And if you have to, if you start getting aroused and thinking about it, start using some deep breathing methods. I always use the one. I put one thumb to the nose. Breathe in. Put the finger in the other nose. Breathe out. That's an easy one to do when it comes to getting aroused. Your mind will feel the oxygen. You'll forget about being aroused, and that will bring that energy up to other parts of the body. Do those Kendler, those Kendler exercises, Fountain of Youth exercises, or any kind of exercise you're doing. Keep yourself active. Don't watch the TV set. Don't watch the internet until you got this better under control. And if you got it better under control, then we could forget about releasing and you're back on pattern again. But the fact of the matter is, my friends, you've got to go back to the right habits. Somehow, the habits broke down. That happens a lot. It happened to me thousands of times. But as I could show you here, and as I've done over the last 1,000 days, you can eventually overcome it again. But you got to keep trying. Don't give up. Don't commit suicide. Don't commit suicide, of course, but don't go ahead and just give up. Don't just give up and say, I can't do it anymore. There's a reason why God gave you this knowledge. There's a reason why we're talking about this on the channel. There's a reason why you guys are listening to this thing. All of us can help each other in some way. We've got to continue to stay vigilant. And we got to continue to stay, I'm talking about battling on. Keep battling on. All right, my friends, enough for today. Thank you guys for all the shout-outs I'm going to write in the description here. I appreciate it. Again, my friends, if I've said some names wrong, I apologize. And if I've yelled too much to some of you guys, once again, I apologize for that. I am not, I'm passionate about what I feel, and the energy sometimes overcomes me. But I will try to be more careful of that as somebody goes on. So, all right, my friends. So anyway, enough for today. Two things, once again. Remember, every day is a new day to a wise warrior. And secondly, my friends, every day we need to continue to battle on!